Welcome back in, y'all. We are Black Girls Talking TV, where we bring the group chat to life and discuss all your favorite TV shows. Today is all about episode 1 and 2 of the final season of Netflix series You. So if you have not watched those first 2 episodes, head out, come back in once you've watched and join the discussion. I'm
Yes.
Victoria.
Spoiler alert. Sorry.
Yes,
I'm
a
so sorry.
spoiler alert. Yeah, no, for real.
Spoiler alert. Because we about to get in
Yes,
it. So.
yes. We don't want y'all being mad at us in the comments, okay?
hmm
I am Victoria. I am a psychologist out of New York and Illinois.
And I'm Kamaria. I'm an attorney in the DC area and a pop culture writer. So let's get into it.
What are your first impressions?
I thought it was really good. Season 1, 2, and 3 to me were very good, and this picked up, and it was kind of in that same vein. So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed
Yes.
it.
Yes, I think we talked about how in the beginning, like you weren't sure that he was a serial killer, right? And
Oh
like
yeah, yeah,
that same vibe was kind of happening through the beginning of episode 1, where you weren't necessarily sure, right?
yeah.
Like because you know who Joe is, right?
Yes.
But it's like, okay, we done went 3 years without killing anybody. You've been good for 3 years, like. Is this a new Joe or is this a facade? I will say though, when Joe first popped up on the scene, I was like, "Brother is looking good." Okay, he was giving a little like mafia rich husband
Oh my
vibes. He was
God.
clean. The hair was, swooped to the side. I said, "Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, no, the actor himself, he's an attractive guy, but he's somebody that's not like immediately when you see him like, oh, he's so fine. It's just like
yeah,
he
yeah,
grows
yeah,
on you and it's just
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah." He
there's
settles in
something
real
there.
nice.
Yes, yes. So yeah, yeah, it was nice. It was interesting to me because I was like, not only is it so mind blowing that he hasn't killed for 3 years, it's like he's been in this relationship, like a functional relationship for 3 years. It seemed
Yeah,
like that girl would have done something, pissed him off. He done, because even like, and we'll get to it sort of like in episode 2, he starts be getting a little bit suspicious of Kate. Well, not suspicious, but like paranoid around like, she doesn't see you, she doesn't trust you, gotta not tell her this, like it towards the end
yeah,
of episode 2. And so I was like, that sort of he's got that gene in him. So it's like that didn't pop up over the 3 years at all.
right,
Like,
right.
so that's interesting because I'm like, relationships are challenging for normal, or not normal, because I don't want to say someone who because he can't control the paranoia and the things that are going on in his head. But for someone without
Very
these
complex
challenges,
mind. Yeah,
yes, relationships are difficult. And
right.
so I'm like, with him, I was surprised the three
Yeah,
years. And then I also
right.
kind of was, go ahead.
I was gonna say right because like with his complex mind, you would think that even the slightest of challenges that someone who's not dealing with the things that he has, going on in his mind, if it's frustrating
hmm
for somebody who might not be having these abnormal mental health challenges, somebody like
Right.
Joe, why you ain't been off the rocker quite yet?
Right. And y'all just was 3 years. And so like
Yeah,
that's interesting. I For this season, like we got introduced to a new cast of like characters that are in like Kate's world. I love that. Like them opening
yeah,
up with being like, boom, this is Uncle Bob, boom, these are the twins. We get a little dose of like who everybody is, enough to be like, okay, we in the scene, we in it, we know who these players are, and we know what the social tensions are. And so they just dropped us in the world very easy and very very seamlessly. So I
yeah.
enjoyed that.
I
And
also like that these characters are very they're a little bit more sharp than what we've
mm,
seen in terms of Joe's
mhm.
environment and who he's around. Like they're already kind of questioning him a little bit, at least one of the twins, you know.
Interesting. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You got Bob is questioning, so it's like Joe, although he's been able to kind of keep up this facade for 3 years, right? Like
hmm
you have people who are around you who already don't trust you. They already feel like you were kind of this charity case that just came in and popped up in Kate's life, right? So there's already a sense of like you don't belong. And
mm.
so it already makes way for a lot of bullshit to happen for Joe, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this because at first I was a little concerned about the writers like dropping him into this ultra rich world because I was like, oh, he's not going to have problems. But I see definitely the dynamics, and I like the choice of the
Yeah.
cast. I
Joe
like
know
the
how to
choice.
pick them though. I said, boy, Joe, you always finding yourself with somebody rich. How does this
Ah,
keep
right. Because
happening?
Love was rich. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And Beck
Yeah.
was
And who?
surrounded by a whole bunch of rich
Oh, rich
people.
people. Yes, yes, yes. And then who was season three? Oh, Love Again.
Yeah.
Yeah, Love Again. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess they gotta figure out a way to fund his lifestyle because his full-time job is out here killing and protecting, I
Right.
guess, in his mind, protecting the people. Um, but yeah, so I guess we can transition sort of into like how the plot starts to thicken because they have this past secret about the pipeline that Kate has told him about, and then they have side note to the half brother. I liked having that, sort of representation in
Yes.
there because the show never really, so many shows don't have, they always have like one or whatever, but at least they got, not at
Yeah.
least, do better. Let me not even be like, at least do better.
Right, right,
But I
right,
liked
right.
him and his representation in the show. But we find out that there's this story that's coming out about the pipeline, and they start trying to figure out, Joe started doing his thing, trying to figure out who it was. And he's snooping, and they find out that like the sisters are involved, and he finds out that Bob is involved. But side note, I was like, this right here, like, is not partnership. When you're like slipping and sliding and hiding, trying to do stuff without your partner, it's like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a healthy dynamic. And I knew she was going to be pissed once he did eventually tell her. And then she confronted Bob herself. But I knew she was going to be like, I don't need you to handle my problems. Homegirl is a whole billionaire. She handling your problems.
Right,
Got Henry
right,
back for you. Got all this other
right.
stuff, and he think
Got
he
your
got to be
name
the one
back
to
for
save her.
you.
Yes. So, oh yeah, and then Henry's back. We haven't talked
Yes.
about that, but
Yes.
a lot to unpack there. So go ahead. I threw a lot out there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it threw us right back in, right? Like, although there's been 3 years of no killing, all of a sudden, right, we see that there is a threat. And that is just how Joe operates. As soon as a threat exists, he feels like he has to terminate it. With whatever moral reasoning that we've already discussed is very distorted, he takes his leaps of faith and he's just like, gotta go. I thought it was interesting that once he found out it was Uncle Bob, he went, instead of killing Uncle Bob, he went and wrote out his little murder fantasy thing. And then he presents it to Kate to say, hey, this is what's going on. And once she confronts him and finds out, like, this is what's going on, all of a sudden, killing is okay, right? Because she first had this idea of, like, you can't solve all my problems. You're insane if this is what you have to do to kind of get off. And all of a sudden now it's like, well, he's actually a big threat, so we need to get rid of it. And so Kate was like in this back and forth, up and down, which we can get more into throughout these first 2 episodes. So it was an interesting character development there with her. And then yeah, we have Henry, which I was surprised. I was a little surprised. I wasn't surprised, but I was also surprised because he came in as like a full child like custody, right?
I
like
know.
like when did this happen? But yeah,
Yeah.
let's, I guess, get into those things.
Yeah, so like I too was surprised that Henry was a full child. I was like, and just like a full character on the show. And he's kind of taken the place, like in every season there's like a Paco or Delilah's sister, or I don't know if her name was Delilah or whatever in season two. And then Henry was like sort of as a baby, this child, but now he's like, full, not full grown, but he's a full grown child. He's not just a baby with no personality. We start to see his personality, and we start to see some of the challenges that he's having with at school. They seem to be new. It doesn't seem to be like he struggled with being violent because they keep saying that, but I guess that's in episode two. But for episode one, we just are introduced to the fact that he's here, and you start to feel for Joe a little bit, like, oh, he's a dad, he has his son, that's all he wants. And it's like that trickery I said that happens with us rooting for Joe. It's like we start to feel bad for him, we feel for like the trauma he's been through, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like there's not enough feeling bad in the world to
Yeah.
excusify these things. So it's like it's hard to kind of like it's like you're rooting for him, but then you're like you snap back into reality. You're like, oh, he's a killer.
Yeah. Very quickly. They
Yeah.
wasted no time for us.
Yeah, because the first killing was episode 1, right? Bob,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
And I will say that it was disturbing to me. Like, it
Yeah.
was disturbing to me. Like, I was just like, oh my, like, this is like, it was such a long time period. Joe's face was like, "Arr." Like, it was so,
Like,
I was like, and they had like
yes.
that cowboy, what were they playing? Like some old school music or something. I was like,
I don't know. It
this,
was just giving like V for Vendetta vibes. Like,
it was like a haunted movie. That's what it felt like.
yes.
So it was intense. It was definitely intense. But I was like, these people, the writers, they showed up. Like it was
Yeah.
good. It just was intense and disturbing.
Yeah. I was just surprised that he did it so fast. It's like at
Mhm.
first his idea was he's going to capture them, confront them, ask them questions, right? And now you just get into the punch, which started happening in season
Yeah.
4 where there was no questions, no anything. As soon as you
Uh,
were a threat, he was off in your ass. So
yeah.
the killings are just getting more and more disturbing because it's just like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
In season 3, season 4, he was collecting body parts, and now you just running up into places and strangling and going. Like, I just,
Yeah.
whew, yeah,
Yeah. It was a lot. But it's like when you start going into like his mind, you realize like, I mean, there's no other option.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Like if that's
yeah,
the way you're trying, if that's your logic, it makes sense. Like, I'm saying, under his framework, but the framework is wrong. It's
right,
morally wrong. But under his framework, like they found out about the guy in London that they killed. He doesn't know who, but the fact that he knows it is problematic. I'm not
yeah,
sure how they know it. I wonder if it's going to be like the girl who's in jail, the student, if she's been talking or reaching out to people or what, but I wonder what the story is behind that. But even though he's killed him, it obviously is not the end of that. I don't even think it's about like Reagan's going to be the end of them. I think he has information from somewhere else, and that person's going to be a pest. Like they're going to be like the undoing of them, because we don't know how this is the final season. They could really end it with Joe going to jail or getting caught. Like I feel like they should end it like that, but I don't know.
yeah. Well, there's so many ways. Like, I think it's interesting how they're starting off the story because you have
Mhm,
Uncle Bob who got a tip from somewhere. Now you
mhm.
have the sister, the evil
Reagan.
twin sister,
Mhm,
trying to fish for information. You also
mhm.
have Bronte. We have to discuss her as well.
Yes,
She read the
yes,
stories, right? Like,
yeah.
so there's so many loose ends, right? You still have the
Right.
girl in jail. You still have Marianne. There's so many ways, so many theories that you can draft from the storyline, which is how I think
Mhm.
they're going to keep us on the edge of our seat a little bit,
Yeah.
and figure out how all of these stories are going to develop. But it definitely seems like with all these things out in the air, out in the universe, Joe definitely, he got to go down. There's no way.
Yes. Something's
Yeah.
coming to clank clank. Something's
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
But the interesting thing is like that's why like when I saw them do like this is the 3-year gap, and he's like on magazine covers, he's like Prince Charming of this socialite, or I mean she's got her career, so she's not just a socialite, but she's in high society, right? And so it's like the fact that he's so public was a little bit of a like, is
Yeah.
this like really like no one's putting two and two together, because he's associated with Beck and he's associated with Quinn, like Love Quinn. So it's kind of like, somebody has the connection to put these together. He's got those pieces over there. So that public image of him, even though Kate smoothed things over and helped him get his name back, it still feels like they're a little
It's
too
too
public for
much.
my liking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
It's like
too public.
y'all have too many skeletons out here, being too visible. Half of these billionaire CEOs, we don't know who their spouses are. He needed to be like that. One
Yeah.
of them people in a background that nobody knows, you
Yeah.
know? But he on the cover of magazines. So
Yeah, he
I
broke
don't
his own
understand that.
rule. He always said like his thing was
Um,
to lay low, no social media, no
yeah.
nothing. And now all of a sudden you're
He on the
everywhere.
front page. He on the front page. So that's a little like to me. But yeah, let's talk about Bronte because we haven't talked about her a little bit. The person who keeps breaking into the bookstore because she really loves books and things like that, and he's kind of taken this interest in her. And side note, like half of the time when she's talking, he's like, "Are you flirting? Are you this?" And she's just literally existing and being very regular. I don't know if you felt she was flirting with him, but I felt she was not
I
at
didn't think she
all.
was flirting at all. Every time he
Yeah.
questioned it, I was like,
Yeah.
she just
And
broke
that
into your store, so she got to be a little charming here, but I wouldn't say it's flirting.
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's just like there's just a side note because it's like sometimes I think even though it's like for him it's like there's a little bit of delusion and stuff like that, but I think that this thread is something that you can kind of see in like men sometimes that where they're assuming that because a woman is charming and like it's her just her personality that she's trying to flirt and it's like
Yeah.
stop. But Bronte in the beginning before I knew her story, then I was like, oh, disarmed. I was disarmed. I was like, oh, she just loves books. She's in here. But this at the end of the second episode, and I know I'm jumping a little bit, but I started to think like is she really who she says she is, because I started believing her story that she just loves books, she's homeless, she's moved out of her ex spot and she needed a place. But I'm like, what if this is all just a ruse and she really
Yeah.
is somebody who is here getting because she did a lot of effort to go break into that basement and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Well, she said she was doing it to steal,
But that's
which
what
is
she said.
likely.
That's what she
Yeah.
said. Do we believe her is the question.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I was like Joe, believing her, and I think because of her story, Joe also was disarmed
Yes.
by her. I think as soon as he found out that she read the stories,
Mhm.
I think an alert should have gone off because what do you think is going to happen if anyone read these stories, let alone one that's about someone who is now dead?
Yeah, I thought he was gonna put her back in that cage immediately. I don't
Yeah, I did
understand how she
too.
didn't get back in the cage. I was like, she gotta go back in the cage right now.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
at
That
this
was them
point.
giving us like, okay, he's trying to battle with being good, right? Like Uncle Bob, there was a reason for that. This girl, there's
Mhm.
no reason for that because she is not posing an evil
She
threat.
okay.
Yeah,
I'm like, under his framework, again, that's illogical under his framework. Like
yeah,
specifically under his framework. Like she should have been back in that cage. Like that's a problem. And so it is what it is. Did he give her the apartment after that? Yeah, he gave her the apartment
yeah,
after that even.
yeah. It said that he
I'm
put
like,
cameras up everywhere. I want to
yeah.
know to what extent are the cameras? Do we have, sound? Is there cameras in the
Probably.
apartment to find out what she may or
Mhm.
may not know?
Mhm.
Um, why he didn't
Mhm.
take that phone and go through it when she said she took
Right, I
pictures?
have pictures. Yeah, maybe he's cleaned that cage because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, there's gonna be drops of blood in this cage. There's gonna be like some evidence of that Gwen was there or that Beck was there. Eh, I just assumed that there was just gonna be something in those photos, and I still am not convinced that when she goes back and looks at one of those photos, she's not gonna zoom in and be like, huh,
Yeah,
this right here is matches up with this story that I know about him. And so she's already a little suspicious, but he just is disarming her. It's just like with Beck. Like he's just disarming her. But she need to run. She made a quote about in the beginning, like, you're not gonna be somebody that makes a book out of my skin, are you?
right.
I was like, girl, he might be. He might.
it's
Like, if anybody gonna do it, it's him. You
it's
know what I'm saying?
him for
Like, if
sure,
anybody
for
in the
sure.
world, like, to be honest,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
you're at the highest probability you'll ever be in life of
Okay,
that
it's
happening
in
is
it's in
me.
this one right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she also brought up the fact that she read into who he is and his story a little bit
Mhm.
about Cherry. What is it? Sherry and Carrie being in the cage and
Mhm.
made that immediate comparison,
Connection.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, connection. So, yeah, she's a threat for sure. Again, all of these
Yeah.
pieces are up in the air in terms of Joe getting caught. So we are definitely gonna
Yeah.
have to see how they unfold.
Yeah. So let's transition to episode 2. As far as Henry is concerned, he has this incident where he hits his cousin in the nose, Reagan's daughter. And so he breaks her nose or does something because she's going around saying that his mother is a killer. And everyone is up in arms about this, you know? And so, like, did you have any thoughts on this one? Because there's a lot of psychologists meeting. They're wondering if, you know, about Henry's violent history. There's the Reagan's pissed. She calls the police in. They're thinking about expelling him. You know, she wants, there's just a lot that goes on with this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. That it was done pretty much how things are done, right? Like you call the parents in and
Mhm,
you're trying to figure out where this aggressive behavior is coming from, especially when it happens out of nowhere.
mhm,
It's immediate alarms, right? Especially to that degree where you're breaking somebody's nose. He had to hit her
mhm.
pretty
Really hard. Yeah.
hard. Yeah. But it's interesting because it just kind of gets into this dynamic of like nature versus nurture, where
Hmm.
when you there's already we know that he was in a good home, right, with the people that Joe left him with, and so within these 3 years of being with Kate and Joe, I do wonder maybe like what has occurred where he feels like the way to handle things is through aggression, because kids often learn like to be aggressive based on how they see their parents handle conflict, or how the parents talk to the children. But we see that Joe and Kate are very loving towards Henry, so it is kind of like,
Mhm.
okay, is this just in his genes? So it makes you kind of question, right, like how these things are unfolding for Henry, and the dynamics of, again, nature versus nurture, and how things are passed down
Mhm.
and environmental circumstances.
But I
So
do wonder also like what Joe is teaching him, because even when he was saying like, you know, that's my job, when he was talking to him, he's like, that's my job to protect. You don't have to worry. Like, I
yeah,
wonder, even I was thinking like when Henry grows up, is he going to be like a Joe, and he's going to just be like, "Oh, you know, this is my job to protect, and like, you know, I'm going to, you know, be this knight in shining armor." Cuz that's what Joe aspires to be to the extreme, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
that's why he justifies everything in this way. And even towards the end of the episode where he's like, I don't feel my conscience is clean. I'm like,
yeah,
that's how he can continue to kill, because he just
right,
justifies everything as protection. And so when he's made those statements to Henry, I wonder like how will that affect Henry in his life as an adult, and like how he approaches interactions with women or whatever. And so I wonder what little things he could be saying to
hmm,
him. And then also I agree with Reagan that that child should have been in therapy. Like,
yeah, absolutely, from
this
the
guy should have been
jump.
in therapy. He not only just for the fact that he switched from the caretakers who were caring for him since he was a baby, the couple, um, into now into Kate and um Joe,
Joe,
but they both it's like on top of that, they're all been through traumatic situations, so they can't even show up as parents in the best way because they are battling all that they've been battling. You know, people think
right,
that the trauma just doesn't do anything and it doesn't continue to live with you. It does. They all needed to be in therapy, to be honest. So I agree with
yeah.
Reagan's point on that.
Well, not only that, but love is dead, right? Like,
Yeah,
and so he
true
doesn't have
love.
his biological mother, and he was ripped
Yeah.
away from his biological mother at a very like opportune time. Like that's he was a baby. It didn't have
Yeah.
any type of motherly figure, whether it was
Mm-hmm.
breastfeeding, right? Like all of these things
Hmm.
that you talk about that's needed for a child's development in the first couple years of life. He didn't get that.
Hmm. Yeah.
On top
So
of
let's just.
love also being psychotic. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yes,
Like,
right. Yeah. Nurture versus nature. Like it. I agree with you. Like the nature might be in there.
yeah.
The nature might be in there.
Yeah.
Um. Do we want to transition to the dinner? And so like so Kate pulls together that dinner just because like she's like, oh, boom, 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 we got to handle this, we don't need him, you know, any additional issues. And that's where they find out at the dinner, because it goes haywire. They find out that she suspects, or Reagan, the sister, suspects Kate of killing Bob. And so that's where it's just like Joe's like, gotta kill her. You gotta kill her too, or do
Yeah.
whatever he's trying to do with her. And it doesn't do anything but further, push Joe into his, killing spree, his thoughts
Yeah.
on returning to who he used to be. That was a theme in there a lot. Returning to who he used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting in that dinner. I was like, okay, Reagan is psychotic too. Okay,
Oh
so was the
yeah.
other twin.
Oh
What
yeah,
is
they
her
all
name?
got some issues.
Yeah, I was like, y'all are
I don't know, just Boo Boo.
y'all
That's
all
all I know.
yeah,
She
boo
call
boo,
him Boo Boo.
right? Y'all all
Yeah,
got some issues because she's sleeping with her sister husband. She was trying to get at
right,
Joe,
right.
like, and then you got
Attention
Reagan with
seeking. That's what her
yes,
issue is.
yes, with this obsession of being Kate. Essentially, like she wants everything that Kate has.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, they grew up in some chaos because the daddy was treating everybody different,
Mm-hmm.
and the half
And
brother he
apparently he
was a
was killing people
nobody.
too.
Right?
The who
Yeah,
wasn't nobody? Oh, the
the
mom?
half brother, the half brother.
Oh, the half brother, yeah.
Yes. He was a nobody, got left absolutely nothing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. I was like, God, dog, this family is twisted. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the dinner was definitely interesting. And once she said, like, I'm coming for everything, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, honey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
One
And
of the,
so, oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say we're always thinking about like has Joe changed, right? But this is also
Mm-hmm.
about Kate and her transformation because you
Mm-hmm.
were okay and you're calling it a moment about Uncle
Mm-hmm.
Bob, but now we
Mm-hmm.
have an even bigger threat. Like, what are you gonna
Mm-hmm.
do? And now you're saying there's no way you're gonna kill my sister, and now you're judging
Mm-hmm.
Joe for
Mm-hmm.
how he thinks about things, but you are the same. You are
Mm-hmm.
the
But
same.
yeah, yeah. But then there's also like, I think there is something that she is picking up on that's a little different. Like, I
Yeah,
think she is noticing that, like, maybe he just likes this,
yeah,
And I don't know if I would call it judgment as opposed to just calling a thing a thing. Like, do you struggle with this? Do you need help with this? That sort of thing. So I think it comes out of a space of concern.
yeah. Yeah, it is a space of concern, but you're also, you dibbling and dabbling when you feel it's necessary.
Right. It's
Joe is trying to be one with who he is and like and I'm not saying this justifies his behavior whatsoever, right? But it's
uh-huh.
almost like that hypocritical thing where you kind of get to decide and control when these things happen, when these threats pop up, and now Joe is the bad guy for wanting to eliminate all threats because in his mind, a threat is a threat, point blank, period.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, the family definitely has a lot going on, so how they all develop will be very interesting for sure.
Yeah. And then the one thing I did want to say was that I was like, why they out here talking about killing? They need to be using a word, a euphemism for the word killing. Why? That's probably why
Yes,
Henry in this situation. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yes,
it may be nature, but we don't know what nurture things are happening in that home that he's seeing as well because they literally were in the kitchen talking about killing when
right,
Henry just overheard a conversation with the adults at the dinner table and threw that knife. You know what I'm
okay,
saying? Like he probably overhearing these kids be hearing stuff, and they over here saying we're
literally,
not killing anyway, or no, the only problem is to kill. We have to get like using the word. They need to be like call it something else. We're not graping. We're not whatever word. I mean, people use that actually to say another word, but whatever
yeah,
some word. We're not something another verb, not
yes,
killing. Um, and so I think where things are like it wraps up on at the end of episode 2 with him kidnapping the wrong twin, and so his threat is still out there, and he's got this twin in here, and it's like, what you gonna do? You gonna let her go? No, because she's gonna be like, WTF? And then, or maybe you can let her go and blackmail her for sleeping with the husband, but she's gonna probably start to feel like these rumors are probably true, that something is going on with Kate and like the Bob situation.
hmm,
So, and she might hint towards that and help out Reagan.
right,
She's her twin
yeah.
after all.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other thoughts like before we wrap this one up?
No, interesting to see what happens. So we shall see.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we are Black Girls Talking TV. You can find us at Black Girls Talking TV on TikTok and Instagram. We do have a group chat going, so if you would like to join, DM us on at it's
Instagram.
DM us on Instagram at Black Girls Talking TV, and we'll be sure to let you in and join the chats.
Yeah, but we're gonna try to wrap up 3 and 4 and get that to you quick too. So, let us know what you in the comments. Let us know like what do you think's happening with this season? How are you enjoying it so far? All that good stuff. And
Yeah.
we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.